Chapter 19 is all about Tom Robinson's testimony. He takes the stand, but before he does, he's asked to swear on the Bible. And so he is forced to take his left arm with his right arm and put it on the Bible. And because it is crippled, it falls off the Bible. And so the courtroom has to see how crippled Tom's arm is. And so then Atticus goes on and he acquaints the courtroom with Tom, and he basically sheds light on the fact that he's 25 years old, he has a wife and 3 children, and he works as a cotton picker for Link Diaz in the summertime, and the rest of the year he maintains his yard and his property. And so another thing we find out is that he has to walk by the Ewell's house every day. And so we find out he's polite and he's credible and he has nothing to hide, and Atticus just lays it all out there. And so he tells them that he passed the Ewell house every day. And so he would tip his hat to Mayella and say hi to her, and then she would always ask him to come inside and do some kind of chore. Later on, Mr. Gilmer goes, "Why didn't you just do your own chores?" And Mr. Gilmer calls him boy. He's a 25-year-old man, but he's African-American, and this is just another sign of racism in the story. And so anyway, going back to what Atticus asked him why he goes inside, and he said, yes, lots of times I go inside because, I felt sorry for her, talking about Mayella. She was very lonely and she didn't have anyone to help her, and her papa, Bob Ewell, was always gone. And so she had all these kids running around, and so he didn't mind helping her now and again. And so he said it was a completely different time of the year when the incident happened, and it was in the spring when Mayella said it was November 21st, and he knows it was in the spring because he had his hoe with him because it was gardening season. And so he comes on in and busts up this chifforobe for her for kindling. And the next thing you know, Bob Ewell comes home and he is hollering, and of course Tom runs away. And so the hard part is that he doesn't tell the whole story. And so Atticus probes him and he said, come on, you need to tell the whole story. And he doesn't really want to. And of course he's always saying sir, and he's being very polite, Tom is. And he said, all right, well, I got down off of the chair after he was trying to reach something on top of the chifforobe, and Mayella jumped on him. And he's reluctant to tell the courtroom this because he feels bad for her. And he's embarrassed. And so then Atticus was like, was she violent? And he goes, no, she hugged me and she put her arms around my waist. And so then, of course, the courtroom kind of gets a little agitated with this information. And then Tom tells the courtroom that she reached up and kissed the side of his face, and that she told him that she had never kissed a grown man before and she might as well kiss an N-word. And then she said that what her papa does to her, what Bob Ewell does to her, does not count. And she says, kiss me back. And he said, please let me go, Miss Mayella. I need to get out of here. And she didn't, and he didn't want to be mean to her, so he just tried to get away. He didn't push her or hurt her or anything, but he did run away because the next thing you know, Bob Ewell is in there screaming at Mayella. And so then Atticus says, well, what did Bob Ewell say to Mayella? And he says, nothing that is fit to say in front of these folks and children. And so he goes, Tom, you're going to have to tell us what he said. He says, you are a darn whore. I will kill you. And that is the edited version, of course. But then he said he was running so fast that he don't even know what happened next because, of course, Atticus said, well, what did Bobby Ewell do to Mayella? And he goes, I don't know. I didn't stick around to find out. And he just asked him, Tom, did you rape Mayella Ewell? And he says, absolutely not. I did not, sir. And did you harm her in any way? And he goes, no, I did not, sir. And did you resist her advances towards you? And he says, yes, I tried. I tried very hard, but I didn't want to be mean to her. I didn't want to hurt her or hit her back or hit her or push her or anything like that. And so he did the only thing he knew to do was to run. And then Atticus asked him why he was run. He said, because he was scared. And if you were a Negro in this time period, you would be scared too. And then Mr. Diaz chimes in from the crowd, and he says that, I just want everyone to know that Tom has worked for me for 8 years, and he has had no trouble with him. And basically, he is a very good hard worker and a good person. And then, of course, Judge Taylor is angry, and he hammers his gavel and tells him to be quiet because that he's out of order. And then Atticus is in trouble, of course, and the judge looks at him with daggers. And so that's kind of how the chapter begins to end. And they go on and talk a little bit about that disorderly conduct and how Tom only got that charge because he was trying to defend himself. Some man cut him and he was trying to kill him, and he had to defend himself. So they both got in trouble. And if he had more money, he would have been able to pay to get it off his record, but Tom did not. And so the last question he's asked is basically, are you strong enough to hurt Mayella Ewell and put your arms around her neck and bruise her? And he says, I reckon I am. And I reckon I'm strong enough to bust up a Chifero, but I didn't do it, sir. And so then Mr. Gilmer gets to question him, and he calls him boy, and he says, are you saying that Mayella is lying? And then he says, boy, and he keeps treating him with disrespect, and he's trying to make him look like a bad person, saying that Mayella and the white people are lying. And so the chapter ends with going back to Scout and Jim and Dill is getting sick. He says he's going to be sick, and he is very upset because he can't stand what's happening. And so Mr. Diaz notices that Dill isn't doing well, and he's asked him to come outside under the tree with him. And so Scout runs out there, and she's like, what's wrong? And she's like, Mr. Gilmer, he's doing Tom that way. It's just not right, talking hateful to him, calling him boy. And Scout goes, well, Dill, he's just a Negro after all. And Dill goes, I don't care. It's not right. It shouldn't happen. And then Scout tries to say, well, that's just his job. Mr. Gilmer treats all of his cross witnesses that way. And, that's just, he would have done it to anybody. And Dill is just sick. And the next thing you know, Dolphus Raymond comes along, and that's where the chapter ends. And Dolphus Raymond is the white guy who prefers black company, and he has mixed children and hangs out with all the black people.